श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। यस्य निःश्वसितं वेदा यो वेदेभ्योऽखिलं जगत् निर्ममेतमहं वन्दे विद्यातीर्थमहेश्वरम्। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय। Dear friends, welcome to the Rudram class. Now we are about to do the Anuvaka, beginning with Namo Dundubhyaya Cha. Okay? First I will recite the entire Anuvaka one time for the purpose of recording and to demonstrate how to pronounce correctly all the intonations, etc. This Anuvaka has some critical intonations, and people tend to make mistakes there. Quite often we hear, but of course the scholars of Veda, they say very correctly. Now you may take this as a standard. Om Namo Dundubhyaya cha Hananyaya cha Namo Dhrushnave cha Pramrushaya cha Namo Dutaya cha Prahitaya cha Namo Nishangine cha Shudhimate cha Namastikshnesha cha Yudhine cha Namasvayudhaya cha Sudhanvane cha Namasrutyaya cha Pathyaya cha Namah Katyaya cha Nipyaya cha Namasudyaya cha Sarasyaya cha Namo Nadyaya cha Vaishantaya cha Namah Kopyaya cha Bhattyaya cha Namo Varshyaya cha Varshyaya cha Namo Meghyaya cha Vidyutyaya cha Nama Idhriyaya cha Tapyaya cha Namo Vatyaya cha Reshmiyaya cha Namo Vastavyaya cha Vastupaya cha Namo Somaya cha. That is the Anuvaka. Once again, all the mantras are Anyatarato Namaskara, means it has Namaha at the beginning, and two words will be there in Chaturthi Vibhakti, and two chakaras will be there. So the first mantra of this Anuvaka is Namo Dundubhyaya cha Hananyaya cha Padam Namaha Dundubhyaya cha Ahananyaya cha. You see, Dundubhi is the kettle drum, the drum. In the earlier days, when there is a battle going on, there used to be a battle-related orchestra along with the army. Drum beats, etc. will be following the army. And these are also soldiers who beat the drum and encourage the soldiers to go and fight. This is there in the Western society, in Western countries also. Like in the British Empire, their armies used to have the drum party, the drum beating party. They will be beating the drums, and the soldiers will be moving forward with guns and all that. And there will be bloodshed, all that will be going on. People getting killed on that side, this side. But this drum beating will be going on. So that is the drum beating which we are talking about here. Because this is Rudradhyaya. Rudra embodies violence, and therefore in the battlefield, the drum beat that you hear, that represents the Rudra, the manifest form of Rudra, because Rudra stands for violence. Dundubhyam bhavaha, dundubhau bhavaha, dundubhyaha, dundubhihi, saptami ekavachanam, dundubhau bhavaha, dundubhyaha, tasmai dundubhyaya. Then the stick with which you beat the drum, that is called ahanana. The Tikakara says it is made up of bamboo. Now, I am not sure. Bamboo may be very weak. It may be solid wood. Bamboo is not solid wood. Bamboo has a hollow inside. The drum beating sticks are quite solid wood pieces. They are very carefully fabricated. That stick is called ahanana. And whenever this drum beating stick meets the drum, beats the drum, a sound emerges. The sound comes from the dundubhi, comes from the ahanana. And Lord Rudra is represented by that sound. The one who abides in that sound of the drum beating stick. So, you see, there is a mantra which says that the sound that you hear in multiple contexts represents Ishvara. Saisha vag vanaspati vadati yadundubhau yatonave yavinayam. Like that there is a mantra which Bhattabhaskara has quoted. This comes from Yajurveda only. So, if you are standing in the woods, in the midst of the woods, and there is a breeze, and all these tall branches of the trees will be moving back and forth, very lazily moving back and forth in that breeze, and the leaves will be moving, and all of that makes a sound. That sound you hear while standing in the woods, and then the sound that you hear when a drum is beaten, and then when a violin or some such instrument, when it is played on, whatever nice sound comes, all these sounds represent the glory of Ishvara. Like that there is a mantra. Whereas here it is the particular context of battlefield, because it is all about Rudra. Okay? Namo dhrushnave cha pramrushaya cha. Again the battlefield context continues. The one who is very valorous, courageous, never shows his back to the enemy. In those days, showing the back to the enemy, which means he is running away from the battlefield, is considered a sin. It is an act of cowardice, and it is not expected from the soldier. Therefore, such a soldier who is very courageous, who faces death courageously, never runs away from the battlefield, he is called Dhrushnuhu, and Rudra is in the form of such a soldier. Pramrushaya cha. Then there is the intelligence. Every army has an intelligence department, army intelligence. The army collects intelligence. Intelligence about the strength of the enemy forces, their movements and all that. All that intelligence is very useful in conducting the military operations against the enemy. And therefore, that army intelligence, the person belonging to that army intelligence, who is collecting the intelligence for the army, he is called Pramurusha, and Rudra is in that form. So the spy, particularly employed by the army to know the movement of the enemy forces, that particular spy, not a general spy, that is the Pramurusha, and Rudra is in the form of that Pramurusha. Very interesting. So it is all about battlefield. Namo Dutaya cha Prahitaya cha. This the Padacheda for the earlier mantra. Namaha Dhrushnave cha Pramurushaya cha. Now next mantra. Namaha Dutaya cha Prahitaya cha. Duta is the messenger. Okay? And Prahita is a person sent by the master for a given job, on an errand. So both are Rudra. Om, yeah. Here the Tikakaras have moved away from the battlefield context. So the messenger, the ambassador, Duta is ambassador. And that's why embassy, Indian embassy outside the country is called Dutavasaha. Duta is the ambassador. So if you say ambassador, that means the battlefield context is over. You can do that. Because this is not a very organized collection of words, okay? Some kind of a motley collection of words. So you can give the meaning like that. But in case you want to persist with the battlefield context, you may do so. In the battlefield, there can be discussions between the two army generals or their subordinates. Like for example, recently, just 15 days back, there was a meeting between Director General of Military Operations of India and Pakistan. How to avoid skirmishes on the border, etc. They had a meeting and discussed all the issues. Since then, in the last 15 days, 1 month, the border fights have come down. In fact, they have disappeared. Now there is peace on the border between India and Pakistan. So that was accomplished by the Duta. So the messenger. Similar thing happened between India and China also. After the Galwan incident, there were messengers going back and forth. There was a discussion between the two army units on the ground, and eventually they arrived at a consensus. Now there is peace on the Indo-China border also. And that is made possible by all these diplomatic people. They are all part and parcel of the army itself. And so army has its own Duta. Sometimes one particular army unit decides to give up fight and surrender. Then they will show a white flag, and one Duta will be selected, one messenger will be selected from among them who has the skills to discuss, and he will be sent with a white flag. He will go to the opposite army and discuss the formalities of surrender and all that. So in the battlefield context also, you can have a Duta, a messenger. And then in the battlefield, there are errand boys. Means especially supplying the army, ammunition, etc. to the soldiers in the front. The soldiers who are moving, they have to be supported from behind by supplying ammunition, by giving food to them. And then if one of them gets injured, he has to be retrieved from the front. He has to be pulled back so that he can be taken to the hospital. There is a field hospital. Within the battlefield there will be a hospital where some immediate first aid will be performed. So for that people will be sent. They will be running. They too fight. They are also fighters, but their job is not to fight the enemy. Their job is to perform such tasks, which are ongoing tasks associated with the battle going on. Such a person is called an errand soldier, errand boy, or a soldier. He is called Prahita. I am still persisting with the battlefield context. The Tikakaras, they moved away from that context. They went into some other meaning. So Agnin Dotam Vrunimahe, like that there is a mantra. So Agni is the messenger between us, the worshippers. We, the worshippers, we offer oblations in the fire, and Agni carries those oblations to various devatas in the heaven. And therefore Agni is the messenger, Duta. Agnin Dotam Vrunimahe, Agnir Devanan Duta Asit. Like that there is a Vakya. Therefore that meaning is given by Bhattabhaskara, which is a very valid meaning. Therefore Rudra manifests in the form of that Agni. Then Prahita is some kind of a similar meaning they give. Next, Namo Nishangine che Shudhimate cha Namaha Nishangine Cha Ishudhi Mate Cha. The battlefield. So, the one who uses the sword in the battlefield, the sword wielding soldier, he is the Nishangi and he is Rudra. Then Ishudhi Mate. Then there is the archer who carries variety of arrows in his quiver. That is the Ishudhi. And so he has the Ishudhi. Sometimes he may have two of them, one to this shoulder and the other to the other shoulder. And such person who is particularly noticed as carrying those quivers full of arrows which are being pulled out and released onto the enemy, he is the Shuddhiman, and Rudra is in that form. The battlefield context. Namaste Kshne Shave Cha Yudhine Cha Namaha Tikshne Shave Cha Ayudhine Cha. If you come across a soldier, a particular soldier is known for the sharpness of his arrows. His arrows are particularly sharp. They penetrate the body of the enemy soldier and fell the soldier then and there. Once his arrow hits the enemy soldier, he is gone. That kind of an archer who is known for his sharp arrows in the battlefield, Rudra is in that form, and our prostrations unto that Rudra. And then in the battlefield, there are soldiers with a variety of arms, not necessarily arrows, bows, swords, etc. Some other kind of weapon also they may use. All kinds of weapons they use. A mace one may use. So all kinds of weapons they employ, each to his own weapon. And so a soldier who carries a weapon of no particular definition, some weapon he carries, and he participates in the battlefield, he is fighting the battle, such a soldier is indeed the manifest form of Rudra. Continuation of the same battlefield. Namah Swayudhaya cha Sudhanvane cha Namaha Swayudhaya cha Sudhanvane cha. The soldier who has a very beautiful weapon, Suayudhaya, Swayudhaya. What is the beauty of the weapon? There is a beauty for everything. Not only a flower is beautiful, a weapon is beautiful for the person who wields the weapon. For the one who uses the gun, he selects a beautiful gun for his personal use, like that. And so the soldier who has a particularly beautiful weapon is Rudra. And then another soldier who has a particularly beautiful bow, Sudhanvane, he is Rudra. Like Rama is known for his bow, Kodanda Rama. Rama who carries a long, powerful, strong bow in his hand. That is the Rama, Kodanda Rama. Like that, there are soldiers known for the bow they carry. And such a soldier or a fighter is Rudra indeed. Namasrutyaya cha pathyaya cha. I think now we have come to a point where we leave the battlefield behind. Okay? Now we come to our day-to-day life, and we come across different contexts, and in every context you can see the glory of Rudra. You see, Srutihi is a footpath. And so you are walking on the footpath. Leave the battlefield behind. Okay? So you should take the meaning which comes out naturally. Footpath. So you are walking on a footpath. Earlier days, people were walking on footpaths only. There were paths for chariots, like modern day highways. Very rarely there were such a highway kind of paths. Most of the time between the village and another village, the path is footpath only. People walk and move between villages. And such a footpath, a small footpath, not very wide, very narrow footpath, is called Srutihi, and Rudra obtains in that Sruti. Means you see the manifestation of Rudra in that Sruti, in that footpath. Because footpath helps you to reach the goal. You see, I always wondered, while traveling, you don't know where you are and where you are going. You don't know. But only you know this much. This road will take me to that town. And therefore you will be going on and on and on. All roads look alike while you are driving or walking, or all roads look alike. But as long as you have caught hold of the correct road or correct footpath, you don't get any other information that this road will take you to that place. There is no such a proof or any such thing. But you are sure you have taken the right road or right footpath. You will reach your goal. That will take you to the destination. That is the beauty in itself. Like I lost my way and suddenly I found this is the road that will take me to my village. Now I am sure, I am very assured now of reaching the destination. Therefore, the footpath which assures me that I will go to the destination, that footpath appears to me like Bhagavan, God sent blessing. Therefore, Rudra is manifest in the form of that footpath. I am trying to explain, give some meaning to that. Then Pathyayacha, Panthaha. Panthaha becomes Patha. And Pathi Bhavaha. The one who obtains in the regular road. Sruti is a footpath. This is a regular road, where in those days chariots etc. used to travel. Chariots and then bullock carts, then horse-drawn carts etc. used to travel. It's a wide road. Later, the same roads have become highways. And so you just think of such a highway. Like from Hyderabad to Vijayawada, there is a highway. Once you hit the highway, it's only a matter of time that you will be in Vijayawada, that highway. And so that is the glory of highway. You hit the highway and you stay on the highway while driving, you will reach the destination. And therefore the highway is a very reassuring thing it is. In US, once we get to the highway 33, that is the expressway. Once we are on highway 33, it is as good as we have already reached the ashram, because just to take the right exit, you will be in the ashram. Therefore, you feel very happy to notice that you are on that highway. Therefore, you can think of that highway as the manifest form of Rudra. From now on, all such interesting manifestations of Rudra you will come across. Generally, we are conditioned to look at God in a particular way. God means temple. God means a particular form. That is how we are conditioned to think. This conditioning is a later development. It came in the medieval period, it came, this conditioning. And that's why the dozen or so gods that we worship, they all have very specific human forms. Naturally anthropomorphic forms. And now we are conditioned to worship God in those forms. And therefore we reach a point where for us God means that only. Either this form or that. God means either Shiva or Vishnu or Vinayaka or Skanda, something or the other. One of the dozen. So, whereas in the Vedic literature, that kind of a context is not there. Therefore, God is manifest as the entire universe. Therefore, you pick up particular contexts in the world in which we are living, in our day-to-day life, a particular thing. And so try to see Bhagavan in that. You see Bhagavan in a footpath because you are assured of reaching your destination. You see Bhagavan in a highway because that takes you to your destination, like that. And some more things of similar nature. Namah Katyaya cha Nipyaya cha. Here this Svaritam becomes important while chanting. Namah Katyaya cha Nipyaya cha. Now the context is water body's context. So first, for a length of mantra, for a set of mantras, it was battlefield. Then it was some other context like footpath, etc. And then all water bodies for some time. You will come across multiple water bodies, and every water body is looked upon as the manifest form of Rudra. Okay, Kataha. Kataha is a small creek. That is the Kataha, a creek. The word creek, a small flow of water, not a big deal. You can walk through it, you can easily cross it by foot. It's just a little water flows. Creek. There are many such creeks. Here also, in India also, you have plenty of creeks, but nobody cares to recognize them and give a name to them, etc. So if you are going on the highway, suddenly you will find small culverts. The culvert is built there because there is a creek underneath. And so you may notice the culvert. If you are careful, you will notice the culvert. And nobody cares to name the creek, that small water flow underneath. Whereas in America I have seen, maybe it is so in Europe, every single flow of water is recognized, it is surveyed, and it is given a name. Marshall Creek, this creek, that creek, like that. There is an Indian creek in Pennsylvania. It is not a Bharat Indian, it is the Red Indian. So like that, and these creeks in those countries, they are the landmarks. After crossing the creek, you take the exit like that. Okay? Therefore, such creeks, they have a beauty of their own. They provide water to the plants, and in the forest also you will find many creeks. And they are the nature's beauty. And Rudra obtains in a water body which is in the form of a creek. Nipyaya cha, yeah. Then Nipa. Nipe bhavaha nipyaha. Okay? Vijaranya Swami writes Nipam arahati iti nipya. What do you mean by arahati? I am amazed what he has in his mind. You see, araharthe yaprachayaha, that is what must be in his mind. You may say Nipam arahati iti nipyaha. I prefer to say Nipe bhavaha iti nipyaha. Okay? What is Nipa? A small waterfall, a tiny waterfall, not a big deal. Water is falling. Don't go to big waterfall, a tiny waterfall. In the context of these creeks, you do come across a small waterfall. Suddenly the water is jumping over a big stone down a particular length. Down below it jumps. And so you hear sound from a distance and you have a small waterfall. And Rudra obtains in that waterfall. So, Namah Katyaya cha Nipyaya cha. Then Kata also means, another meaning given, Kata also means a well, and the one who obtains in the well. Rudra obtains in the well. Therefore he is Katyaya cha Nipyaya cha. Next mantra, Namah Sudhyaya cha Sarasyaya cha. Namah Sudhyaya cha Sarasyaya cha. Sudaha. Sudaha is a marsh land, marsh place. Marshes will be there. And in that marsh, it is very dirty water. and the bed also is very slimy and all that. And these marshes are protected because they have a value in the ecology of the place. And generally, near the water bodies like a river, you will have marshes. And then when the river meets the ocean, with confluence, there will be marshes. The world's biggest marsh is Sundarban. In America, the Everglades is a national park. It is full of marshes in Florida. Therefore, these marshlands, sometimes called wetlands, they represent the glory of Ishvara. And so you see God in the marshlands. We have to protect the marshlands. They play a very important role. You see, when we started constructing buildings, houses, colonies, and factories, etc., in the marshlands, now we fill the marshes with soil from elsewhere and construct buildings, etc. So now an important ecological protection against the ocean coming and eroding the land is gone. That's why when there is a hurricane, the ocean, we are so close to the ocean now, and the ocean causes havoc among communities. The whole village is swept. In fact, in the first place, that village should not have been there. It is a marsh place. And with marshes, all those plants, trees, etc. will be there. They give a protection against the oncoming waves of the ocean. They are the natural protection. Once that protection is taken out, we are at the mercy of the elements. And so, but in India, because of population pressure, such mistakes do happen occasionally. And therefore, when there is a marshland, it has an important place in the ecology of the whole place. And therefore, we are advised to keep it, leave it alone, don't disturb it. See God in that marshland. Sudhyaya cha, Sarasyaya cha, Sarasi bhavaha, Sarasyaha. A pond, a village tank. Villages there will be tanks. Talab bolte. Pond. In Telugu they are called Cheruvu. They are there in the village. They keep the groundwater at a good, reasonably good level. In summer they provide water to the cattle and birds and other animals. And sometimes they are used, the tanks serve as irrigation purpose also. The water taken from the tank holds the water. And even fields can be watered from the water in the tank. So the tank or a pond has an important role to play in the agrarian society and agrarian economy. And therefore, wherever there is a tank like that, there is Rudra in it. You see, in some villages, they use the tank for bathing. They take bath in the tank. All the people, sometimes in the women also, to go and take water, they take bath in the tank. And then they take water from the tank to household purposes. They wash clothes in the tank. They wash their cattle in the tank. They do many things. They pollute the tank water, but still they do many things. In fact, if the tank disappears from the scene, then the whole village goes without water. And the wells in the house have water only because of the tank nearby, because that keeps the groundwater in place. In Hyderabad, one thing happened. All the tanks are converted to real estate. The standard example is Masab tank. You go to Masab tank, you don't find any tank there. Masab tank is a jungle of concrete and cement. It is full of houses, very close houses, narrow lanes. There is no tank because the tank was confiscated by the real estate people in collusion with corrupt government officers, etc. And so now you have big buildings there. All tanks have disappeared. They say hundreds of tanks in this country have disappeared. Very unfortunate. We should have looked upon the tank as a source of life, and birds come there for drinking water, etc. Anyway, when there is such a tremendous pressure of population, such undesirable things do happen. And so, anyway, the point is, when there is a tank, try to see Rudra in that. Next, Namo Nadyaya cha Vaishantaya cha. That is the Swara difference. Only Nadyaya, the Swara, Swaritam comes to Yaka, Ya, not on the Akara. Up to there, Nama Sudhyaya cha, Sarasyaya cha. Whereas Namo Nadyaya cha, Vaishantaya cha, that small critical difference. Namaha Nadyaya cha Vaishantaya cha Nadyam bhavaha Nadyaha. There is a river. And so the Lord is present in the form of the river water. You are going, you come across Godavari, that is Rudra, or Krishna river, Rudra. In Western countries, Delaware river, that is Rudra. Like that. We should look upon rivers as manifest form of Rudra. They are very sacred. In fact, why people take sacred bath in rivers, etc., in Ganga, etc.? The answer is the answer is found in Veda. So the answer is water is sacred, not that river is sacred. Water is sacred. River is only one particular form of water. Water is sacred. Apaha, that is Ishvara, manifest form of Ishvara. And then river is a particular form of water which is again sacred. Double sacred it is. So that's why river water is sacred, river water all the more sacred. And therefore there is a thing called sacred bath in the river. And now you give different names, Ganga, Kaveri, etc. Once you give names, you fall into Namarupa situation. So one Namarupa is superior to another Namarupa, you fall into that also. There is no reason for that. But Puranic stories, etc. create all such divisions, differences, distinctions and all that. Whereas when you come to the Veda mantras, all water is sacred because it is manifest form of God. And the different forms of water bodies are mentioned here. And every one of them is looked upon as manifest Rudra. That is Nadyaya cha, Vaishantaya cha. You see, Vaishanta is Vaishante bhavaha, Vaishantaha. You see what happens is, when you are walking along the river, suddenly you find a small pond, like a small pond within the river. It is connected to the river. All the water in the pond comes from the river only. It is connected to the river, but there is no flow of water. And people take bath there because they are afraid of going into the flow. Now naturally, when there is no flow, it will be dirty water. Okay? Therefore, this kind of a small pond-like thing, which is isolated from the river, yet connected to the river. Generally, these fishermen dig such things to keep their fish. And sometimes people want to take bath, they use that. So, that kind of a pond connected to the river is called Vaishanta, and Rudra is manifest form of Vaishanta. Okay? Alpasaraha Vaishantaha. It is a very small pond-like thing connected to the river. Next. Namah Kopyaya cha Bhattyaya cha. Namah Kopyaya cha Abhattyaya cha. So, Kopa is the well. Earlier Kataha is called Kopaha. Not necessary. Whatever meaning Kataha first meaning, that is better because Kopa is coming here. So, Kata I said creek, that is better instead of making it Kopa. Kopa we have here. Kopa is a well. In the earlier days, even in my childhood, when somebody wants to make a house, even in Hyderabad, they make a plot, make a compound wall and dig a well. A well used to be there, but then the wells are all gone. They were covered up, and a bore well has come, more modern. And then municipality supply of water, etc. All these modern things have come. Earlier it was the well. There is a well, and you have your own well. You draw water from the well. That is how people live. Even now I think villages, people live like that. And therefore, the well and the water in the well is Rudra. Avatyaya cha. So, you see, what happens is, when you are walking in a village, suppose there was some rain, recent rain, and there is some low-lying area, and water will collect there. Some small place, a hole in the earth, a small hole, and water will collect there and remain there like that. It is called avata. And that water will be murky, smelling bad smell also. And it will be there, and people go by its side. Okay? Sometimes water buffalo will go and sit in that water. You can see such things. Because water buffaloes, they want some cool water to take rest because the sun is beating down. Therefore, they go and sit in these holes, water holes. And so those holes of water you see in villages. Okay? And the water in that, however dirty or stinking it is, still it is a manifest form of Rudra. All water-related things are going on. Next one, Namo Varshya cha, Varshya cha. You see this Varitam shifts from A of the Ya to Hraswa Akara of the Ya. Namaha Varshya cha, Avarshya cha. Did you notice this Varitam? So people say everything the same way, say the same way. They should not. So, there is rain, water is falling. What about that water? It is Rudra. That's why there is a rule. People who know Veda, they know that rule and they follow it also. Never ever curse the rain. Varshan and India. Never. Rain is falling. Suppose you are getting drenched. Chalo, Ishvara's glory, Ishvara's blessing. Never ever curse the rain. Okay? In Hyderabad, like city, when there is rain, we curse the rain. All the TV channels will be cursing the rain because the traffic snarl has come, traffic is stopped there. And some of the rain water has entered into low-lying areas. They should not construct houses in low-lying areas. And that is the water flow area it is. And there you put a house, and then the water comes into your house. So this is, again the reason is population. Okay? You cannot complain also. But then, so the rainwater, it is Ishvara's glory. You should be able to feel it. People become insensitive. I suggest this. Rudradhyaya, the meaning, study of the meaning should bring out that sensitivity in us. We should become very sensitive. Any water body, we become sensitive to it. And it is sacred, it is Rudra. Rain is Rudra. You see, you look at the glory of rain. The clouds come. The rainwater came from the ocean. From the ocean, the water is evaporated by the sun, and that becomes the cloud. The cloud travels by virtue of the breeze or the wind, and it comes and suddenly it finds an obstruction and all the water is given. It's a shower of blessing. And so there is a glory of Ishvara in the rain. And Vedic rishis, they worshipped water, they worshipped earth, they worshipped water. Apo va idakum sarvam Vishva bhutanyapaha. All life is apaha. Prano va apaha. Life is apaha. Pashava apaha. Annam apaha. Food is apaha. So Pashavo apaha sarva devata apaha. All devatas are waters only. That kind of a tremendous reverence, love and devotion to water bodies is very characteristic of Vedic rishis. You see, in the popular religion, some of these values which are very unique to Vedic wisdom are lost. Now the water body is not important anymore. A graven image is important. Suppose you go to a temple, there is a pond associated with the adjacent to the temple. As part of the temple complex, you will have a pond. Mostly in Tamil Nadu temples you find the pond. These ponds are very badly kept. Nobody cares for those ponds. Quite often they use it as a dumping ground, dumping place for all the waste generated is dumped. And the water in the pond is very murky and very smelly that way. So they are busy with the graven image, worshipping the image, offering flowers, etc., putting silken clothes to the graven image. I don't know what is all that. I have a doubt whether I am digressing. The image is clothing part of the image or not? Huh? Image, is it naked or is it clothed? The image itself, the stone image. Did you get my point? Is it naked? No, I suppose it is not naked. It is clothed. Then why do you put the silken clothes again? You don't need to put clothes. Right? Because if the image is already clothed, for example, you look at that photograph. It is not an idol, but a photograph. Look at that photo. Is it naked or clothed? It is clothed. Why do you put another cloth to that? It is already clothed. I don't know. If I were to do such a thing, vastram samarpayami, I'll put it there. I don't tie it to the idol. If you tie it to the idol, it gives an impression that underneath the clothes, it is naked or what? I don't know. So my point is, we have to pay. I have gone into a very controversial topic. I am sorry about it. So, but now it is over. You have to pay attention to water bodies and different forms of earth, different forms of water, different forms of fire, different forms of wind. All that you have to do. You should not be carried away by the intricacies of the worship of graven images and the priestcraft, etc. All of that is the popular religion. The true religion is you see God in a water body. Okay? About idol, whatever I said, I was trying to find out what is the matter. I am not sure about it. Okay? Then, avarshya cha. You see, there is a water body which is irrespective of the rainwater. Because all these water bodies we have described above, all of them depend upon the rain for filling up. A tank, a well, a creek, Any water, river, you name it, it depends upon the rain. There is one water body which has no dependence upon rain. In fact, it is the source of all rain. That is the ocean. That is Avarshya. Avarsha it is. It doesn't depend upon rain. And Rudra obtains in that also. Avarshya cha. Namo Meghyaya cha Vidyutyaya cha. The same topic. Namaha Meghyaya cha Vidyutyaya cha. You are looking at now the rain-bearing cloud. Megha comes from Meha. 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 Ha gets Gha. Okay. Ha gets different forms in different contexts. Ha becomes Dha, Ho, Dha, Ha, Gudha. Guha, Gudha. Ha becomes Dha, Ha becomes Gha. Here it is Meha, Megha. Okay? So, Meha means to drop water, to shower water. Megha means rain-bearing cloud. And so, now you are not looking at a water body, you are looking at a rain-bearing cloud. And that is Rudra. Then Vidyutyaya cha, you are looking at a lightning. You should not directly look at lightning, but you are aware of the lightning. And when you see the lightning, it is Rudra. Rudra is manifest in the lightning. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is Vidyut Brahmanam. There is an upasana on the lightning as the manifest form of Ishvara. A similar thing here. Nama Idhriyaya cha Tapyaya cha Namaha Idhriyaya cha Atapyaya cha. The topic is continuing. So, there is the cloud which is not rain-bearing now, which is very white cloud. The autumnal cloud, which has no rain in it, that is called Idhriya, and Rudra obtains in that also. That Rudra, because that cloud has given away all the water and became waterless, dry, and hence looking white. Therefore, it has done a great job, therefore it is still Rudra. When it is having water in it, it is black in color, its appearance, that is Rudra. Idhriyaya atapyaya cha. You know, there is rain together with sunlight. The sun is there and rain is there. Such rain is particularly considered sacred. Okay? Along with sunlight, there is rain. Generally, when there is rain, there is no sunlight. When there is sunlight, there is no rain. But there is a very small context. For a very short while, there is rain and sunlight together. That is a very special water it is. Atapya. And Bhagavan is present in that water. Okay? In some ritual, that water is collected and used for the ritual. And the elders who studied Veda, I have seen it, whenever such context they see, immediately they take out the upper cloth and stand in that rain and get some rain on their body and then again put the upper cloth. Because that water is considered sacred. Okay? Like that in Aruna Prashna also there is some such thing. I am not getting the mantra now. So Atapyaya cha, next mantra. Namo Vatyaya cha Reshmiyaya cha Namaha Vatyaya cha Reshmiyaya cha. You see, there is a hurricane. Terrific winds are coming. And rain is also there. That is a hurricane, and Rudra is in the form of hurricane. Hurricane, it destroys many things. It creates havoc and all destruction. That is the manifest form of Rudra in any case. Then Reshmiyaya, then hailstorm. Hard balls of ice fall from above. That comes as rain, hailstorm. That hail, if you are not careful, if you are exposed, all those balls will fall upon the body and the person will have to be put in emergency or hospital. Yeah, and not beautiful, hailstorm. And some of the cars' windshield, etc., will be broken by those hard balls of ice. Ice in the ice balls, they are very hard. They form in the clouds. And from there they come. With a terrific velocity they come, because they come down. And they hit with a big velocity. And the windshield will be broken. And if it falls upon the head, his head will be injured and he has to go to emergency and get bandage done. So very dangerous rain it is. And Rudra is in that rain, in the form of that rain. Namo vastavyaya cha vastupaya cha. That is the last mantra of the Anuvaka. Namaha vastavyaya cha vastupaya cha. Now the topic is changed. Okay? Vastu is a useful object, which is wealth. Like a cows are vastu. Cattle, wealth is vastu. Money is vastu. And similarly, many other things which have a lot of value, they are vastu. For example, sand is vastu. Sand is not available. And so people are trading in sand. Black market for sand is going on. And therefore sand is wealth. That is vastu. Similarly, wood. Suppose you have wood. It is as costly as gold. That is vastu. Such valuable things. Many things are there. Different people trade in these valuable things. All these vastu. And so Rudra is manifest in such valuable things. Vastavyaya, Vastupaya. You see, Vastu, the word Vastu means the plot that you have earmarked for making a home. That is the Vastu. Okay? House plot, not flat. House plot. At one time there used to be market plots we used to purchase. You purchase a plot and make a home. But now plots are not there. You have to go to the village to get a plot. Now there are only flats. Okay? When a flat, if you purchase some 10-story building and you purchase a flat, the flat will be registered along with the flat, 3-bedroom flat, and the land also he has to register in your name. So 2.5 square feet land. So that is the registration done. For every flat, 2.5 square feet land. Because of 100 square yards land will have a big building. And everybody will get a small piece of that land per his share. So it is all flat culture. But at one time it was plot. Plot is vastu. The small piece of land earmarked for constructing a building, a home, is called vastu. That plot, now Bhagavan is there in it. And he protects that plot. He obtains in that plot and he protects it. He protects it means he helps the owner to make a home. That is what it is meant for. Suppose you could not make a home having acquired a plot. That is the absence of blessing. But there is blessing, so you acquired a plot, made a home. There is a blessing. And that blessing coming from Rudra. He is the one who protects the plot. Then another meaning you can infer if you wish. Some of these people, they encroach upon the plot. And they take away from you. You will not be able to protect it. But fortunately, your plot nobody has encroached and it is left alone and you are able to make a home on that. That means the plot is protected by Rudra. Rudra has protected that plot. So, Vastu, Pa is protection. So my prostrations unto such Rudra. This finishes the 7th Anuvaka. The next Anuvaka, Namo Somaya Cha, that is how it begins. We will do it in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.